Hello everybody, we have reached the end of the course. So congratulations on getting here. So let's review everything we did in this course. So we learned how to generate a new project using npm. We installed Express. It's a Node.js web framework. We use it to, in our case, to build a RESTful JSON API. We use an example of a bookstore where you have many books and those books each have a title. They could have many more properties, but we focused on just learning the express and how to do the routing, all that kind of stuff, how to handle the data and call a fake ORM like module. That's the book module we made to do operations on the hard coded data that we thought of it as our database. So we learned to use Express, set it up with a basic Express. You have to call Express to make the app, and then the app is pretty much where everything is gonna be acted upon. You call app.use to apply any middlewares. We learned about the body parser and the Express JSON middlewares to allow us to get a rack.body available inside a route so we can see the contents of the request body formatted from JSON to the actual JavaScript object or list. We learned about how to do a get, a post, a put, and delete routes using the Express. Typically, the usual way to define a route is you do the verb. HTTP verb is going to be the method you call. First argument is the path, the endpoint to this API resource. Then the second is always going to be what are you going to do when this request comes. It's where you define typically your response. You do some processing and then you respond to the request. It's always with the rec as its first parameter and the rest as the second parameter. Those correspond to request and response respectively. We learned about res.send to send any kind of response back to the client. I learned various ways of parsing the request route parameters. Rec.params, remember it's a string, so if you have numbers in there, you should definitely parse them. Then we learned about how to change the status code. In this case, if we could not find the record, we should always make sure to return a response with the status code 404 and with some friendly message for the client. Otherwise, everything goes well, just send the actual book object, in this case in JSON format. Then we learn how to create a book, very simple. And using the rec.body, we didn't do any validation in this course, but you should definitely validate all these request body parameters that come in. You should also filter out the unwanted ones in case some guy is trying to mess with your system and try to add new stuff that could have some bad consequences. I don't know. Anyway, so we did update, same thing, 404 and all that stuff, and then finally we did the delete. We went a little bit overboard in the delete because we want to start thinking about special cases and error handling. Since we're using a hard-coded database-like structure, it's not really a database, so it's not asynchronous, so we won't have any issues, but you'd probably have some issues to solve if you were an actual database. We learned to send the status tool for no content in case we destroy something that succeeds and there's no content to be returned. I learned about 500 internal server error just in case something general error would happen. This is not recommended to be used anyway. You would use something like 422 bad request. I don't remember the name of 422. It's either bad request or something else. Anyway, 400 types, 4xx type errors is when the actual server side, the client sends something that the server does not, thinks it was not in the right format, that kind of stuff. You should read more about status code on your own. Anyway, Yeah, so we learned the routes and everything. Make sure to call the app.list so you actually run the server and put a friendly message to the whoever ran the server so he can know what part is running. In our case, we define the part 3000, so we go to localhost 3000 every time we want to access our API. Okay, so this course was just an introduction to Express. There's a lot more you can build upon. Should definitely look into the more middlewares for authentication, that kind of stuff. I recommend Passport.js and that kind of stuff. Also, you should definitely look into improving the code base. In our case, we put everything in one file, but that's not really good in the long term for scale as your app grows and grows and grows. So you could follow a kind of MVC, model view controller, like directory structure, where each the routes go under a, we call it controller, and we can separate all the routes depending on for each resource and that kind of stuff. So you can do your own research and learn about that as you go on on advanced topics of the Express framework. Okay, that is all for the course, and thank you so much. Congratulations.